Hello you guys! As the months are getting colder and we're getting closer and closer to autumn and we are in that transitional type of period in the year, I thought it is the perfect time for some transitional books, early autumn books. So I will be matching my reading to this transitional period of the year. So we will be reading some literal fiction, dark fantasy, maybe some dark academia. My first book will be Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I have only read Normal People by Sally Rooney, and was I a little bit biased in liking that book because I've already seen the TV show and already loved the characters and the story? Maybe. So I am hoping that I will like Intermezzo because I haven't read any of her other books. So I am a little bit scared maybe the writing will not actually be for me and I actually just enjoyed the story and the characters. And obviously this is a different type of story. This is a story about grief and brothers. Let's just go straight into it. If you watched the video, I read Normal People, and you know that I was talking about how I was scared that the writing would be hard for me to read because she doesn't use quotation marks for speaking, and I think in this book it's even more prevalent and it is actually inside the paragraph. So sometimes I don't know if the main character is actually speaking out loud or if it's just his thoughts, because it is a lot of like just text. There's no distinguishing what's happening inside of his head, what is not. With the writing itself, you kind of have to figure it out by yourself and get it from the context. However, sometimes the context is not enough for me. So right now, it is kind of confusing to read. There's two main characters, two brothers. So the first one we get to know is Peter, and I'm guessing now in the second chapter I'm going to get to know the second brother, who is named Ivan. I hope I like Ivan because I really don't like Peter. So I know I said it's kind of hard and complicated to understand what is going on, but I think as you keep on reading, it just gets easier because I am definitely much less confused now. I am definitely partial to Ivan. He is very sweet. He has a very gentle soul. He is the younger brother. He is 22 years old and he is a professional chess player, but kind of not professional. He doesn't really get that much money from that. He kind of just goes to competitions and does some workshops, and he does some data analysis on the side. But his brother Peter, he is a barrister. He is, I think, 32 years old. So they are very different from each other. And to me right now, what is the most, I think, hard thing about this book is that Peter can be quite cruel in his mind towards Ivan, and Ivan is heavily implied to be autistic, and to see his brother belittle him and kind of blame him for not understanding social situations, it's very grating on me. However, I do feel like it's getting better and we see Peter's inner thoughts. We get to know his mental state as well. He has to self-medicate with Xanax because he struggles with insomnia. Then we slowly start seeing signs of depression. So I'm trying not to put his cruel behavior against him because maybe he doesn't really mean it and it's not coming from like a malicious place, but it's definitely something. And for a while I really thought I was going to DNF this book because it was just so horrible to read, but I'm kind of enjoying it. It's kind of like you can't really take your eyes off of this book and you need to know what's going to happen next. Bro, I want to strangle Peter. Ew. Ugh. Wow, okay. I am absolutely in love. This was such a skillful book. I don't know how Sally Rooney does it, but she brings these complex characters to life and it makes you feel like they're actual people. They have actual thoughts and you can feel them so tangibly that it's impressive that they didn't come from anywhere in the real world. At their core, both brothers are so different from each other and neither of them really gets the other. Ivan tries to consolidate with his feelings and his immense grief. I think they both tackle grief so much differently. It's who they were and how their relationship was with their father that affects their grief differently, but also they're bonded by this experience and obviously their brotherhood is just so unique. I haven't really read anything about two brothers only because I don't think it's seen in much media. Most times Ivan's chapters are like a continuous flow of his thoughts. It feels like you're really thinking them for yourself, or at least it does to me. I think my brain works similarly to his, but it does feel like he explains things very thoroughly. Peter's chapters feel more like a word vomit in a way. Peter thinks a lot of things, but it's less concentrated on what he's feeling internally, more concentrated on what he sees or what he does or what another person said, but it also feels like he goes over things a lot. That's where Sally Rooney's skill really comes into play, because how can she make these characters that she just made up in her own head feel so differently, and they have each their own unique style of thought process. It's just so amazing to me. I think I had a lot of trouble with Peter's character. Sally Rooney, I think, loves writing unlikable characters, and that's what Peter was at the beginning of this book. I did struggle to really be in his head because he did not understand Ivan's perspective at all. Ivan's life, really. He treated him as a person that was inherently different and couldn't have normal life experiences such as having a girlfriend, feeling desire, feeling love, or even how friendship works. The skill that goes into writing this type of book, it's just so amazing, and that is why I gave this book 4 stars. I am not giving this book 5 stars only because at the beginning of the book, like I said, I struggled a lot with Peter's character, but also that's the whole point. So, you know, it's a weird feeling. For my next book, I will actually be reading Gideon the Ninth. I was going back and forth on if I actually wanted to read this book. I've heard a lot of great things, but it never really stuck out to me. But I do want to try it, and it is for free on Audible right now, so I will take the advantage of that and listen to it on audiobook while reading on my Kindle. Gideon the Ninth is definitely a change of pace after Intermezzo. I thought this was going to be dark fantasy because I didn't really read up on it, and looking at the cover, I just assumed it's straight up fantasy, but it's more of a science fiction fantasy, more like epic fantasy. It's definitely more intense than a normal fantasy book would be. There's a lot of phrases that you need to understand, and there is a lot of lore that you have to really try and dig in and really understand. So it is a bit confusing. It is a little bit confusing. However, we are following Gideon, which is a servant to the ninth house. Ninth house, it's the last house in the solar system, and it's in charge of keeping the locked tomb closed. And we don't know what is in the locked tomb. She is a swordsman and is kind of like indebted to the ninth house, and she can't leave. So when we meet her, she's actually in the middle of trying to escape, but she's intercepted by the lady of the house, Harrowhark. Gideon is forced to stay, and she has to become Harrowhark's new cavalier, basically has to protect her. And Harrowhark had some important meeting, and at that meeting we found out that they have to go to the first house, the Emperor's house, and enter a competition in a way to become lictors, something like that. And they basically need to stay in this manor, Canaan house, and figure out how to become lictors with other houses. Every representative of the houses has been invited and they have to come there and study and train and, I don't know, figure out how to become the selector and also maybe defeat the other houses. I don't really know. I think it hasn't been explained what they actually have to do, but the trials that they have to go through supposedly could kill them, so who knows? It's definitely different. And I'm not entirely sure I really like it yet, but I will persevere because I basically know nothing at this point. So I'm hoping that as we go more into the book, I will learn more about Gideon herself, because we don't really know much about her and we don't know much about her character. I don't know, I need to get attached to someone to really care, so... I forgot to mention that each house has its own planet, and each representative / the head of the house or their relatives, so the children and all of that, are necromancers, at least from what I understand. It's getting a little bit harder to understand this book. I feel like the world building is not good enough for this to be high fantasy, and it is a high fantasy. There's a lot of things you have to know, and unfortunately the world building is just not there. I'm constantly confused about where we are and what everyone looks like. I have no idea what anyone looks like except for Gideon, and I only know that because she's on the cover of the book. And the plot itself is not strong enough for me to really be interested. I will keep reading because I'm almost halfway through, so I want to at least reach that halfway point and see what I think, see if it gets better, see if the plot, I don't know, resolves some things, because right now not much is happening really, and see what I think then. I really, really, really wanted to like this book. It has so many things that I normally enjoy, like high fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of horror. It's sapphic, it has LGBTQ representation. However, it turned out to be so mid. I don't know how else to say it. It was just mid. The world building, like I said before, was just not fleshed out enough for us to understand what is going on most of the time. I don't think we talked about how everything looks and where we were. It was just not descriptive enough. And similarly to the characters as well, we did not really describe them enough, and we were introduced to 20 characters at once. So it was very confusing to understand who is who, where they're coming from, why are they here, what is their purpose, what are they like, what they look like. I don't know if it was just my problem because I was mainly reading on Kindle and listening on audiobook, but to be honest, if I have to refer to a list of characters at the beginning of the book, that means that the characters are not fleshed out enough. The necromancy itself, the magic system, just not explained at all. We did not go into detail about how everything works and why certain necromancers have different types of power, and we didn't really get into why there are necromancers. I originally thought that necromancers are just born to the royal family, like the heads of the houses. However, that is revealed that is not true, that it is a chance that they could be born, but it's not guaranteed, and we didn't really explain it. We didn't really go into how the magic works. We didn't really get into why some necromancers could control the bones, some could control the soul, some could control the emotions. How am I supposed to know that one necromancer is going to be able to control the bones of a dead person and one is going to control the soul and be able to communicate with the soul? Okay, I didn't really like the main character either. I thought she was very annoying and very irritating, and she had a lot of moments that were like, I just don't understand what is happening. You guys are so necromancers, and I'm just a stupid little fighter and I can't understand anything. So she was saying that, and we had stuff explained to us, and I'm guessing that was just a tool for us to find out what is actually happening because the trials themselves were not explained enough. I don't
don't think. And that brings me to my point that this book is mainly tell and not show. We were just not shown things, and we did not get enough descriptions, and we didn't get enough like what is happening, you know? The only thing that this book has really going for it is the plot twist. I really did enjoy the plot twist. I thought they were phenomenal, and the last 30% of the book were really great. I did really enjoy it. However, if I didn't have this book on audiobook, I would definitely not have finished it. I think I would have DNF'd it around 60%, probably 50. I give this book 2.5 stars because it was just mid. However, it wasn't necessarily bad. It just was poorly executed. Okay, so for my next and final book, I will be reading Never Let Me Go. My boyfriend actually has been trying to get me to read Kazuo Ishiguro for a long time because he is one of his favorite authors. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity to do this because I'm kind of expanding my taste in this video. This is supposed to be kind of like an academia plus dystopia. I don't really know much about it. I just know that it happens at a school and that Kazuo Ishiguro normally writes dystopia, I think. So yeah. My first impressions are that I adore the writing style. It's giving a little bit of a mix between Normal People and The Handmaid's Tale for some reason. I don't know if it's just me and because I obviously know those books and like both of those books, but I don't know if there is something about this book that reminds me of both of them. And it could be just that the story has some elements that are very similar to those stories. But yeah, I really, really like how confusing it is, but it's not confusing that you're actually like scratching your head and being like, what is going on? You can kind of gather from the context clues what she's talking about, the main character. And I like that we're getting fed crumbs of information, but they kind of make sense, or you're just feeling like you can just wait for the information that you know is going to come. We start off the book by getting to know our main character. In the 1990s, we find out that she is a 30-year-old carer of people that have to give some kind of donations. We don't really know what those donations are just yet. I am 50 pages in, so I'm guessing the donations are going to be revealed sometime soon because I think it's a big aspect of this book. But we quickly go from the current timeline to recollecting memories from her school days with her best friend Drew and a guy named Tommy. But we're just recollecting her days at school, which is named Hailsham. We don't really know at this point what this school is, but soon we find out that they live at this school. There is a dorm and they don't really have their own homes that they go back to at the end of the day or even at the end of holidays. I think they are living at this school from probably the ages of around 3. We have discussions of what was happening to them at age 4, 7, 6, and it all happened at this school. We don't have any recollection of mom and dad. We have introduction to some new concepts to us, which are sales, exchanges, and the gallery guardians. Guardians are like teachers, but we don't really know if it's any more than that. Sales are a way for them to get things from the outside world, which is another clue that they are contained in this school. There is a very big focus on being creative at this school. Feeling very mysterious and kind of creepy, but in a good way. In part 2, we are actually not in Hailsham anymore. The students that were at Hailsham and getting their education or whatever it was, they go to the cottages, and the cottages are basically places where the students go to live before they get training. I think it's just like an in-between place. We quickly see a change in what kind of issues we are discussing. I think it goes a little bit deeper. Obviously, they're older, they're about 18.
the topics change. I think our main characters start thinking about more pressing issues and more direct issues, just what their life is going to be, and starting to question it a little bit.
I can't believe no one has ever told me how heartbreaking this book is. I finished it within a day. This book has truly captivated me from start to finish. Going into this, I was not expecting to be hit in my heart so hard. I was expecting dystopia, I was expecting creepiness, maybe an overarching commentary on our world and how we view things. But even though we got all of those things, we also got an absolute heartbreak. So calling out everybody that recommended this book everywhere, because I've seen it on TikTok. Yes, I have. People love it. And me too. Oh my goodness. This book is divided in 3 parts, and we follow Kaf's 3 stages of life, which are school, cottage, and carer. And throughout all of this, we are following her and her 2 friends, which are Ruth and Tommy. And as they grow up, their questions change with them as they grow. And I think it's captured so well. Absolutely loved the storytelling in this. In the beginning, I loved how we were kept in the dark, but we knew that there was something bigger and darker looming just above our heads. We were just unable to notice it. Something about this writing immediately hooked me in and kept me absorbed, even though it might seem plain and straightforward at first. We see a girl going through her school years and discussing her problems in a diary or a memoir type of way, discussing childlike problems and telling us stories of play pretend and friendship. But it soon changes into something much more horrific. I absolutely loved how seamlessly we went through the timelines, because we go into this story in the 1990s where Kaf is 30 years old, and we go through each year very seamlessly. We go through year 6 to year 2, or year 15 to year 3, and it happens so smoothly that you don't really have any trouble in catching up and understanding what it is. It really feels like you were talking about something and you suddenly remembered something else that related to the story, so you go back a little bit in time to catch up your audience on that topic, and then you come back to your original point. And I really enjoyed that. I don't want to say anymore, because I think the fact that I went into it so blindly is why I really enjoyed this book. But it is a completely skillful and masterful piece of work. I absolutely loved it, and I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I can't believe I read it in a day. Like, what? But I'm actually lost for words at how amazing this book was. And if you enjoy dystopia, you definitely have to read this book. But thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!